Shalom. First and foremost, all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kwadash. Double honors to the beloved apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who do well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David, starting with the 144,000 and the rest of the men, women, and children out of the 12 tribes, whom Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, will ultimately have mercy upon in these last days. This is your brother Montezabath, residing from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Melbourne, Australia. And this is going to be a lesson entitled MOTB Update, News and Prophecy. All right. And as you can see here, this is from the peoplesvoice.tv. As of July 26, 2025, it says British government quietly rolls out digital ID in the UK to purge independent media websites. All right. And this is the beginning stages of Amos chapter 8 and verse 11. All right, which let's start the lesson off with that precept if we can. All right, this is Amos chapter 8 and verse 11. It said, "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of Yahweh." All right. And this is important because we know that there's going to come a time and day, which I believe is very, very soon, where they're going to implement, digital ID, which means that you will have to register yourself via way of biometrics online. OK, and if you don't like what they're saying, all right, if you don't like their policies and procedures with you being plugged into their system, you pretty much are going to be denied access to all of your accounts. All right. So if you're doing your podcast and you're bringing out information, if you're posting up things, whether it be on Instagram, X, TikTok, or whatever the case may be, you're pretty much your account is going to get banned. All right. Which means you no longer have access to freedom of speech as they so claim. OK. Now, let's quickly read this article. We'll get a couple of precepts and just close out. This doesn't have to be too long, but this is just to update the Akim. All right. You few Aquathium, listening and learning, and the rest of the sheep. It says the British government has quietly rolled out a mandatory digital ID system under the Online Safety Act. OK, and that's one of Esau's many clever and cunning practices, all right, to hide things into his policies and procedures. OK, it says effective July 25th, 2025, designed to purge independent media websites by blocking thousands of non-compliant platforms from the UK users. And this insidious law, framed as age verification for adult content, enforces ID checks and third-party services to suppress dissenting voices, threatening free speech under the guise of safety. And that's what they do, because they'll try to wing it to say, oh, this has been happening and our teenagers are suffering and they're being exposed to this, that, and the third. So we're going to put in place an age verification for the greater good of society so that we can protect. OK, that's what they hide. All right. The scripture says, let's get you already know what's coming. Psalms 58 and 3. It says the wicked are estranged from the womb. All right. Who is the wicked? So, Malachi chapter 1 and verse 4. OK, the Edomites, beginning with the top banking elite families. It says the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. OK, it says their poison is like the poison of a serpent. OK, that's why the scriptures tells you in the Apocrypha, who would pity a person who is bitten, roughly paraphrasing. It says they are like the deaf adder that stop at the ear. Right. Because when you try to speak truth and expose and let them know, all right, they'll act like they didn't hear what you say, and they'll turn a blind eye. OK, it says which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. All right. So back in the scriptures, it says the act requires all sites hosting or distributing potentially harmful content to implement robust age verification or face severe penalties, including fines up to £18 million or 10% of global revenue and outright blocking for the UK audiences. Sites failing to verify users' ages through proper technology such as government-linked ID systems or external services will be deemed non-compliant and fundamentally altering online operations and raising alarms about broader censorship of independent journalism. MSN.com reports the days of ticking a box to say you're over 18 are over, said Adam Jones, internet law specialist at HD Claims. Any adult site operating in the UK must now take meaningful steps to prevent underage access or risk being banned entirely. This applies not just to traditional porn sites, but also to platforms that host user-generated explicit content such as Reddit, X, and OnlyFans. Under the Act, Ofcom now has the power to issue content takedown orders and demand access restrictions, fine platforms that fail to prevent underage access, hold UK-based users and distributors accountable for uploads that breach the law. Even sites hosted overseas can be blocked if they are accessible in the UK and fail to comply. Adams said while sites must verify age, they are not permitted to retain sensitive personal data without clear user consent. The law includes privacy protections, and any platform storing unnecessary data risks breaching GDPR. Now, it's funny that they say that, but one will have to ask, okay, who's controlling all of this behind the scenes and what are they really doing with all of the data? Because the data has to be going somewhere where people have access to that information. Users can expect to see an increase in secure, privacy-first age verification tools such as digital wallets, credit checks, or government ID-based systems. And companies that don't meet Ofcom standards could face significant penalties up to £18 million or 10% of global turnover, whichever is higher. In the most serious cases, senior managers or executives could be held personally responsible. Senior commercial technology and data protection solicitor at law firm Harper James, David Sant, said, "This is just the latest phase of the online safety rollout. Businesses should already be well advanced in their compliance work if they operate a search engine or any online service which allows users to interact with each other or encounter their content user-to-user services. Those businesses should already have completed an illegal content risk assessment by March 2025 and implemented appropriate safety measures, and they should also have completed a children's access assessment by April 2025 to determine whether children might use their platforms, triggering comprehensive children's risk assessment requirements." All right, and it pretty much just goes on what Ofcom is doing, it's not too much in it, but one of the key things here is that he also said was to determine whether a service is likely to be accessed by children, the business must consider whether it's technically possible for children to use the service, something that can only be confidently ruled out if the service uses highly effective age assurance tools such as facial age estimation, digital ID verification, or photo ID matching at first use. Simply stating a minimum age in your terms or service is not enough. All right. This is ultimately what they're going to be hopping on. All right. And so that I thought that was funny that this had just came out, So what I want to do, because I know here in Australia, they signed the ID pact back last year in 2024, sometime around April. But let's get some scriptures. Let me see here. Let me get Wisdom of Solomon 2:11. It says, "Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth." So Esau prides himself in the strength of the law. All right. And as the scripture says, let's get Isaiah 10. It says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed." All right. Now, let me get this in AMP real quick. See what it says. Never read it. It says, "Woe, judgment is coming to those judges who issue evil statutes, and to those magistrates who constantly record unjust and oppressive decisions. so as to deprive the needy of justice and rob the poor of my people of rightful claims, so that widows may be their spoil and that they may plunder the fatherless. All right. And that's what Esau is doing. Because remember, let me see here. I think it's Isaiah 29, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. Isaiah 29 and 21, it says, those who cause a person, all right, to be condemned with a false word and lay a trap for him who upholds justice at the city gate and defraud the one in the right with meaningless arguments. Because when they implement the social credit score system, which is going to be attached to this age verification online, they're going to have the green light access that if you go so far as to post anything or to say anything, then you're going to have a red flag. All right. And you can't you're going to be limited to what it is that you can post online, what you can even view online. Like even now, how we have a little bit of room and freedom to go on a search engine, whether it be Firefox or Starter Page. What's the other one? Salakia, DuckDuckGo, whatever the case may be. When they do this complete reset, all right, it's going to be, we're going to lose out on everything, man. Right. And so, yeah, that's, I thought that was interesting, in that the famine of the word, is nearly here, because this is not just being rolled out in the UK, but this is also being rolled out in here in Australia. And this will come to Babylon, the Great America. All right. When it comes to the situation that's going on with ICE, it has been said a lot of the detainees that are going down to Alligator Alcatraz, they are all being registered into this digital ID setup. All right. Which we know ultimately that's going to lead to the MOTB, the RFID micro C hip. All right. And so, this is where we're at, man. OK, this is why the scripture says, let's get 2 Corinthians 2:11. It says, in the AMP, to keep Satan from taking advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his schemes. OK, his devices, his plots. OK, this man is always scheming. Remember, the scripture says he is cunning and crafty. OK, and this is just another, stumbling block to those individuals who's going to be taken back by this, man, because they're trying to bring it in the sense of this is going to protect online activity for your children. We're going to use age verification, not understanding that the long-term goal is they're going to have complete control over what you do over the internet. All right, because you're going to be linked into this digital dystopian of a society. All right. So that's pretty much on that. Like I said, I ain't want this lesson to be, too long, short, straight to the point. Just a quick update of what's going on. And Abaratazah, you were edified, giving all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakah HaKodash. Double honors once again to the beloved apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS or Ruel. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David. So on to the next. Shalom.